Hi guys, my name is Aditya Santosh. I am from first year CSC Data Science A section and my roll number is 701. My tech talk topic is from the subject chemistry, that is wizards of water cycle. As we all know, in the previous school level we learnt about water cycle, and also it is also known as the heterological cycle or and biochemical cycle, and it describes the continuous movement of water above and below on the surface of the water. The mass of water on the earth is fairly constant over the time, partitioning of water into major reservoirs of ice and water and saline water depending upon the climatic changes. This is known as the water cycle. So the mainly that it involves many steps such as precipitation, condensation, evaporation, infiltration, surface runoff, surface flow, and like that it has many states through the water flowing such as solids, liquids, or vapors or gases. The process which is involved in the water cycle is precipitation. First, let us discuss about it. The condensed water vapor which is falls on the surface, which occurs as a rain, which means the water, which means the air, the water vapors from the above the clouds, we'll see, like that. It causes snow, fog, like that. Some air like that, and wind, which is related to precipitation, which is approximately about 505,000 kilometer cubed, and each year it will be 398,000 kilometer cubed and over the oceans. And rainwater contains 1005 kilometer cube per year every year. And 78% of the global precipitation occurs through oceans. And second process is evaporation. The Since evaporation means the liquid, which means the water is converted to water vapor, which means the liquid is converted to gaseous phase from ground or bodies. So as the rain cools down, will move towards the ground, to the water, and the oceans, it will get filled up, and it releases to water vapor, so in the water bodies, into overlaying the atmosphere sources. And evaporation is primarily in the solar radiation, which causes 86% over the ocean. And condensation, which means the reverse of the evaporation. In the evaporation, the water is converted to water vapor, but in condensation the water vapor is directly converted to water. Means the gases is converted to liquid forms by creating clouds and fog over the condensation, which is known as the condensation. And uh, and in the water cycle, the movement of the water throughout the hydrosphere and causes storage of the for long periods, then it is actually through the cycle. The storehouses for the vacant majority of all the water on earth are mainly covered by the oceans, since 78% of the global precipitation, as I said in the previous slide, which is mainly caused through the precipitation only. And it is estimated about 1 million, like that, it is stored for oceans, or 97%, around, or about 97% world's water supply. And it is also estimated the ocean supply is about 90%, and evaporated goes into the water cycle. And during winter seasons, such as colder climatic periods, it forms glaciers and ice caps through global water supply, which causes less amounts of other parts of water cycle. And it is true during the warm periods also, reverse. During the last ice ages, glaciers, the one third of the Earth's mass is being covered with oceans, which is about 122 meters lower than today. So effects on climate. The water cycle, which is the water cycle is powered from the solar energy. We know about the solar energy which comes from the sun, like that, which comes from the sun and reaches to the ground. It causes global evaporation or global warming, which occurs from the oceans, reducing their temperature, evaporative cooling, and without cooling also. And it causes the greenhouse effects, such as chlorofluorocarbons, carbon monoxide. These are some of the greenhouse effects causes, and mainly carbon dioxide. And the higher surface temperature, which causes a warmer planet. It will get the ground will get hotter during 67 degrees Celsius, means approximately 153 Fahrenheit. And aquifer drawdown or overdrafting and pumping of fossil water increases total amount of water in hydrosphere. And hydrosphere means which causes water, total amount of water which is present is known as the hydrosphere, where we get water in that. And it has been postulated contributed to sea level rise. Slow loss over the geologic time. So why it causes slow loss for the hydrodynamic wind? The upper portion of planet's atmosphere allows light chemical elements as hydrogen to move on exobase. The lower limit of the exosphere, the gases can reach over the velocity, entering outer the space without impacting other space gases. The type of gas loss from a planet into space is known as planetary wind. And it causes a hot lower atmosphere, which result in humidity in upper atmospheres and accelerate loss of hydrogen. Natural disasters which are caused due to water cycle. This is some of the wizards we will see in water cycle. And the water cycle is also called as the hydrosphere, which is continuation life on the earth. It interacts with atmosphere and create wind, weather, climatic changes, and it is also responsible for natural disasters such as tsunami, earthquakes, like that. Tsunami is the best example for the water cycle, which causes for it. And much of the phosphorus on the earth is tied of rock and sedimentary deposits. So most of the earth which consists of rock and sedimentary deposits, by weathering, leaching and mining, which is released on it. And it passes through the freshwater terrestrial ecosystems via plants such as plants, predators, parasites, and it is returned to those ecosystems by death and decay. So why is the water is intensifying? So what do you mean by the word intensifying? Means it has the factors affecting the water cycle, which means both wet and dry extremes are variability of the water cycle increase, but not uniformly around the globe. Means it is due to the dry and extremes. And in such a variable there is so much difference between in the wet and dry extremes, so it causes the intensifying water cycle and not uniformly around the globe. The factors intensifying, which is important for the warming temperatures, upper limit and amount of moisture in the air, increases potential more rain, and daily extreme precipitation will likely intensify by about 7% for every 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit the global rise. Phosphorus cycle. The phosphorus cycle in the various forms through the nature is recycled by the biosphere, scarcest, and it also in the ecological system. It is indispensable to life being of a DNA of cells, which is related to the biological cells. In this phosphorus cycle is used, and and phosphorus exists in other elements also, and microorganisms produce acids through soluble phosphate and insoluble phosphorus compounds. And finally, we can say why to conserve water. The issue of the water conservation is not saving the water. Mainly, most of it is not having any clean water during at any times we need. Gifford Pinkerton, an American conservationist and politician who served to the chief of U.S. Forest Service between 1898 and 1910, referred to conservation. So he referred like that. He says the wise use of earth and its resources are the lasting good of men. So what are the resources we use today will be the future for it. So if we conserve water today, then it will be stored for future generations like that. So thank you.